Ever moved into a new place and felt like you weren't alone? Tonight, we're diving into three bone-chilling tales of homes and workplaces with secrets that refuse to stay buried. You might want to leave the lights on for this one. Our first story begins with Sarah and Mark, who thought they'd found their dream home, a century-old house in the quiet countryside. Everything was perfect, except for one thing: a small, padlocked door in the attic. The realtor casually brushed it off as storage space, but an unshakable feeling of dread washed over Sarah every time she passed it. It didn't take long for the house to reveal its true nature. Within a week, strange things started happening. At night, they'd hear footsteps echoing from the attic above. Faint, whispering voices seemed to drift through the hallways. Sometimes Sarah would wake up to find tiny, unsettling scratches on the walls leading up to the attic stairs. She tried to rationalize it: old house sounds, the wind, her imagination. But one stormy night, the sounds grew impossible to ignore. Loud scratching, insistent knocking, and low, mournful moans came from behind the locked attic door. Terrified but needing answers, Sarah and Mark mustered their courage and forced the padlock open. The door creaked open into a scene thick with dust and silence. Everything was covered in a gray film, except for a single wooden rocking chair in the center of the room, which was moving slowly back and forth on its own. As their eyes adjusted to the dim light, the real horror set in. Sarah spotted something on the dusty floor: small, muddy handprints. They led from a dark corner of the attic directly toward the stairs where they stood. There were no children in the house. A wave of panic hit them. They had to get out. As they rushed outside, their neighbors saw their terror and stopped them. "That attic," one whispered, his voice trembling. "Your child's spirit won't rest. The previous owner, she lost hers. Sarah and Mark never spent another night in that house." But the story doesn't end there. Locals say that on stormy nights you can still see the rocking chair moving through the attic window. And if you listen closely, you might just hear the faint sound of a child's laughter echoing from the top floor. Later, a hidden box was found under the floorboards, containing old letters from a grieving mother, detailing footsteps, whispers, and shadows that never ever left. Next, we head to a downtown office building, a place that never truly sleeps. James was a dedicated employee, often working late into the night. The building was old, its long, narrow hallways lit by flickering fluorescent lights that hummed a lonely tune. One evening, as he was finishing up some reports, he saw it, a shadow at the far end of the corridor. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was a tall, dark silhouette, perfectly still. It didn't move. It didn't react. It just stood there. More curious than afraid, James called out, but there was no response. He walked slowly towards it, the sound of his own footsteps unnervingly loud in the empty hall. As he got closer, he reached out a hand, and in an instant, the figure vanished. Poof. Gone. Confused, he checked the nearby offices, but all the doors were locked. He called security. No one else was supposed to be in the building. To make things stranger, the security cameras on that floor had mysteriously malfunctioned. James couldn't shake the feeling that he hadn't imagined it. He spent the next day reviewing security footage from the entire past month, and there it was. Every single night, at the exact same time, a dark figure would appear in the hallways. It walked slowly, pausing at office doors, seemingly watching the empty rooms. He soon learned he wasn't the only one experiencing strange things. Other employees who worked late reported printers turning on by themselves, sudden cold drafts on the back of their necks, and distant whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. James couldn't handle the constant feeling of being watched. He eventually quit his job, but some say the silent visitor never left. It still roams the office corridors after hours, a silent sentinel waiting, watching anyone who dares to work late into the night. The creepiest part? No one has ever seen its face, but those who have encountered it swear they felt eyes staring deep into their soul, even when nothing was there. Our final story is about Emma, a young woman who moved to the city and found a roommate named Alex through an online ad. Alex seemed normal enough, polite, quiet, and extremely reclusive. At first, his withdrawn nature didn't bother Emma, but soon she started noticing odd things. Strange, faint smells would occasionally waft from his room, and she'd hear soft noises in the middle of the night. Weeks turned into a month, and Emma realized she had never seen Alex leave the apartment. Not once. She figured he must work odd hours or from home, but he never mentioned a job. One afternoon, she knocked on his door to ask, but there was no answer. She assumed he was finally out, but days went by with no sign of him. Growing concerned, she called the landlord. The landlord's response sent a chill down her spine. "Alex?" he asked, confused. "He hasn't lived here for weeks. I thought you knew. There was a terrible accident a few months ago." Emma's blood ran cold. If Alex wasn't her roommate, then who or what had been in that room? Frantic, she searched the apartment. Behind a false panel in his closet, she discovered a hidden, cramped crawl space. Inside, she found what she had been smelling and hearing. Alex's body had been there the entire time, undiscovered. Police later confirmed he had died under mysterious circumstances, but his presence seemed to linger. Emma moved out immediately, but the story didn't end. Subsequent tenants and neighbors reported hearing whispers from the empty apartment, faint footsteps, and the distinct sound of doors opening and closing late at night. Some even say the lights flicker and objects move on their own, as if Alex's restless spirit refuses to leave the space he called home. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chilling content. Stay safe and always check behind your closet walls.